Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. I am Ann McNeil, the Master Wealth Builder, helping you to build a stronger and better business and life. And we are talking with you today about none other than the Think and Grow Rich philosophy by Napoleon Hill. And this is the Think and Grow Rich Mastermind Live, which we come to you every Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, discussing this phenomenal principle. And the principle we're discussing today, if you've been following us for any length of time, is the subconscious mind, not just the subconscious mind. How about your subconscious mind? Napoleon Hill basically calls this the connecting link. And I like to call it sometimes the missing link, because if we're not clear on how your subconscious connects to your infinite intelligence and your confidence, then there is an area of growth. Napoleon Hill goes on to share that the subconscious mind consists of a field of consciousness by which your impulse of thought reaches your objective mind through your five senses, or sixth sense for some of us, right? And from these thoughts, you can recall and withdraw from the universe or from your mind or from some place that we may not know. Something like a filing cabinet. Think about going into a drawer or a filing cabinet, which is in your mind, and you're able to pull out and to recall any and everything that you desire. I like to call it, these are impulse of thought, a hunch, an urge, a nudge. But whatever you call it, we're going to be discussing today the power of your subconscious mind. And I would be remiss if I attempted to discuss anything without the support of our co hosts. And so let me bring them on as we prepare to talk with you about our special guest today. And that is none other than Miss Gloria Rowley. We'll bring her on in a few minutes and talk with her a few minutes. But let me bring to the front none other than Galen Bingham and then Peter James. Good morning, Galen. How are you this morning? And welcome back, actually. And then we'll bring on Dr. James.
I think we're going with Dr. James first there, Ann McNeil. How is Washington, D.C. doing?
Oh, listen, we're here in the nation's capital every single year as a part of the National Association of Black Women in Construction. We come here to participate in the Congressional Black Caucus Week. And so it's an annual legislative caucus week, and it is phenomenal. So as you know, we are the voice.
And so here's my second question for you this morning. I'm going to dive right on in, as I'm excited to be here and talking with our distinguished guest today, but also diving on into this chapter, this subconscious mind. And McNeil, what have you injected into your subconscious mind already early Saturday morning?
Well, I start every day, actually, Peter, with what I call a daily date with myself. Mm-hmm. A daily date with myself whereby I journal, I read, I pray, I meditate, and then I invest time in just quiet meditation and asking my mind to give me 10 opportunities every single day. I don't always get 10, but I journal those every day. And it's amazing how, when you connect that with the subconscious, how by desiring, some people call it a vision board, if you will. You can tell the mind what you want by pictures, but you can also tell the mind what you want by writing repetitiously your thoughts. So I also, as a part of my Clarity Mastermind, I also listen to 3 to 4 different audio recordings every month dealing with my self confidence and the power of thought. And so, this particular chapter and this particular principle, it works night and day, actually, Peter. And also, oftentimes, we don't think about the fact that, the mind does not lie dormant. It is active and it is in use at all times. Now, the advertisers understand that very clearly, which is why they're always bombarding us with these messages. I love listening to 60 Minutes on
Mhm.
Sunday. We do that as a family, right? And every Sunday, I'm realizing that many years ago, they would go to commercial on 60 Minutes and it would be a 60-second commercial, one commercial, 60 seconds. I've now counted, sometimes they're able to get 5 and 6 commercials in that 60 seconds now. This to me is the power of how the advertisers, who are now in the trillions of dollars, are now tapping into this power of our subconscious mind and converting it to dollars. So what I'd like to have all of us think about as our guests come on, and as our virtual mastermind guests and people who are listening to us in the future, I'd like to challenge all of us to think about, how are we using the subliminal seduction that the advertisers use to convince us to buy things we don't need or want, to do things we have no desire to do, because they're tapping into our subconscious mind. So this is such a powerful, powerful principle. It is just amazing how we oftentimes don't give thought, don't take the time to think about how it works.
Yeah, I love that wholeheartedly because you're absolutely right. The media, these advertisers, they do their part to inject into our
Yes.
subconscious mind, sometimes more than we do on our own. And then you're also absolutely right. Our mind's always going. Sometimes I'm waking up in the middle of the night thinking stuff, and I'm like, I wish I would stop thinking that so I can go back to sleep, right? I wonder what Galen's injecting into his subconscious mind there, Ann McNeil.
Well, let's gonna find out. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Great to be with you guys and with our guests. This is a very powerful chapter. This one always reminds me of, and I like the way Napoleon Hill did it, very similar to the way Ann McNeil just shared. Says the subconscious mind will not remain idle. If you fail to plant desires in your subconscious mind, it will feed upon the thoughts which reach it as a result of your neglect. So, as you mentioned, we've got all these people, all these companies who understand the power of your subconscious mind. That's where action comes from your subconscious mind. And so they know that if they can get to your subconscious mind, then they can cause you to buy their thing, vote for them, approve their request, whatever the case is. So we have to be active in how we program our own subconscious mind to make sure that we're doing the things that we want to do rather than just by neglect doing what others may want us to do. So this chapter is always an amazing reminder for me that when I start my day, I have to be intentional about the videos that I watch, the audiobooks that I listen to, the music that I start my day listening to. Because if I just get up and say, okay, what's my to-do list? Let's just get started, then I'm being programmed by other companies, other influences, and I may not want what they're trying to program me with. Chances are I probably don't want what they're trying to program me with. And it's my responsibility to make sure that I'm doing what I want to do.
Wow, I tell you, this is no coincidence in terms of when you stop and think about how powerful our thoughts are. And I know we're going to bring on our special guest, Miss Gloria Riley. But as you were talking, Galen, I started thinking about the question that Peter asked me while we were bringing you on. And Peter, I just want to go back to something that something that I wrote this morning, going back to your question as we were preparing. And with your permission, gentlemen, I'd like to read it if you don't mind. I actually posted this on LinkedIn this morning. But I wrote, I just said, this is what I wrote, and I'll just recite it. I said, today I'm sharing my thoughts. And this is as a part of your question that you asked me, Peter. And I wrote, I said, my thoughts returned in our meditation special place. Now, this is me and my thoughts. I'm talking to myself about my thoughts. My thoughts are talking to me. And so I said, my thoughts returned to me this morning during our meditation special place. And to remind me that she is so powerful beyond my imagination, but only if I can imagine what I want in every area of my life. Then she shared that one of her positive thoughts is like the seed of a tomato, which can create many, many other seeds of positive thought, which would germinate from just one positive seed thought. She is then interrupted by her twin, the negative thought, to bide for equal time in my mind. And she shares that she has the same power, maybe even more powerful, in my imagination. If I give her just a little bit of time, she don't even need as much time as the positive thoughts, she told me. And then I said, thank you for sharing the negative. Then I moved forward with my positive thoughts of affirmation and prayer of thanksgiving for today. And then I posted the question to anybody who's reading that. Just imagine what your thoughts are and the fact that you have the power to give each of them space in your mind. Which one do you choose? So those are my thoughts, and they're twins. So, so you just happened to ask me that question, Peter. But listen, we didn't come to talk about me. We didn't come to talk about us. We actually came to talk about not just talk about, but actually to talk with our special guest. And our special guest, I actually met her at a woman's billion-dollar retreat in New York. And so we're going to welcome Miss Gloria Riley, CEO, MBA, CFS. And Gloria says that her purpose is to help create financial success and provide an extraordinary amount of personal care in helping you with your financial and security needs. Her clients leave her office with new aspirations to achieve their financial goals in life, and it's all about having a plan. And so since 1976, she has been providing professional services in the financial industry to individuals, small businesses, owners, and corporate clients. But in 2009, she went from being an employee as an entrepreneur to an entrepreneur and started her own business as a way to provide and promote greater financial security for her clientele. She wants to branch out and provide top-notch products and services to meet their needs. And she instills in her clients her skills and self-sufficiency to gain enough monetary independence so that they can pass down that knowledge to the next generation. So help me welcome our special guest this morning, Miss Gloria Riley. Good morning, Gloria. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I am fantastic. Thank you so much for having me on the program. I am wonderful today.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. What I'd like to do before we get too much into your story, I am going to ask you, I'm asking you to just share just a little bit about your background. Then we're going to have Peter James to come back, and he's going to share about our 13 steps. And then we are going to go to that special place discussing the subconscious mind, in particular, your subconscious mind and the impact it is having on your life and your business, especially to lead you to the point where you decided to leave a good, comfortable corporate job and take this leap of faith and walk by faith by putting feet to your faith and come out here with the rest of us as an entrepreneur. So, how did it all start for you if you go back to the very beginning of your upbringing, or what brought you here, if you will?
Great question. Great question. The most important thing for me has been my faith, right? And since I was a small child, I realized I had this faith inside me. We're talking about subconscious mind, right? And
Right.
I had to put that into action. So throughout my life, just like everyone else's, you run across a lot of obstacles. But no matter whether it was a negative situation or a positive situation, I always felt that I was able to see. So if I was in darkness, I was always able to see the light. So I always followed the light in my life to get to where I am now. The most important people in my life would be my faith, that's God. I have 3 sons, so that's my young men. I'm married and I have a family, and family is so important. It keeps me grounded. So there's always something greater than myself, my faith and my family, and wanting to be able to give back. Legacy has been so important to me because as a small child, I was raised by my aunt, my mother's oldest sister. That's a whole nother story in itself. We can't talk about that today, but that allowed me to experience a new life, to be able to see from another set of lenses, to grow up in another environment. And as I grew up in life and got older, I was able to connect with my family on a more consistent basis. So my viewpoint about life is always you have to make your own way. You know, you have to kill what you eat. You have to start your own path and you have to follow it and not be so concerned about what other people think. As long as you know that you're putting one foot ahead of the other, you're giving it 100% or 150%, then you're going in the right direction. And then the faith has always given me confirmation that what I'm doing is fine. It's not perfect, but it's fine. I'm following that light that I feel that was around me in darkness. So that's a little bit about how my mind is shaped and formed and how I think. And I like something you said, Anne, Miss Anne, you talked about so many words, guarding, putting a safeguard around your mind. And later in life, I found out just how important that is. Because if you don't safeguard your mind, then you're going to be bombarded with the world. So you do have to be laser focused.
Wow, so powerful, so powerful. Absolutely. Speaking of laser focus, let's focus on the 13 principles. We're going to bring Dr. James back, and he's going to tee up that conversation. And we're going to look at and see how all of these principles connect and what role the subconscious mind plays in all of that. Dr.
Yeah,
James.
thank you all so much. This book that we dive into every single week, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, contains some richness, as we've even just heard from our guest here, Ann McNeil. And I wonder if those of you who are listening who have not picked up Think and Grow Rich yet and are looking for ways to manage your subconscious mind, manage different aspects of your life, different principles in your life, give this video a listen, because it's going to give you a snippet into what this book is all about and how it can impact you on a deeper level. And as someone just told me this week, in order for us to level up, it's important that we go deep. So give it a listen.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith. having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the Wild Wild West days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
All right, you heard them all. Wow. Can you imagine? Start with your own desire. And one of the areas we're really learning that works powerfully with this principle of the subconscious mind is how you're able to connect it to your desire. And so we heard our guest talking about the faith that she has, but I want to challenge each of us as we listen to this conversation. How do you activate your own subconscious mind. Many of us focus on the self-confidence formula, if you will. We've heard also that you can use your prayers. But imagine, as Napoleon Hill espoused, that prayer is your conversation. If it's negative thoughts that you're experiencing before you go to prayer, your subconscious mind is going to pick up those negative thoughts, and your prayer may not be answered because they are going to be inhibited. But if you go to prayer with positive thoughts and faith and belief in that you're going to achieve that which you desire, your subconscious mind has a way of, of connecting these dots or points, whatever you want to call it, and has a way of bringing to you that which you desire. Oftentimes, if you just think about it and meditate on it. And so this is a very deep, 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 deep subject and conversation. And I want to bring back our special guest and all of our co-hosts as we begin to share and talk about how do you each use this principle. So Gloria, I'd like to start with you first and have you first. I always like to ask the question, how did you come about this book and this, these principles? And I know we shared many, conversations when we first met, and you were sharing with me, oh, I've read that book. I'm not going to go on and talk about what you said. So if you would share with our audience and our listeners, what was your first introduction to this book? And then we'll get to the principle.
My first introduction of this book was in my sales profession. Sales profession is very, very hard. Sometimes you feel like you're the lone soldier. You're out there by yourself. So I was searching self-help material to read, and I ran across the book. And I read it the first time and actually put it down. And then several years later, I picked it up again because I was in a slump, and it motivated me. And here I am again, picking it up again. So it's just something that sticks to you. You can't just put it down and leave it. Some kind of way finds its way and it crawls back into your hands, and you start reading it again. And so I love Napoleon Hill, and I know the principles work. You have to work the principles, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. They work only if you work them, but so does your job and your business. It's amazing how we can say, oh, this business does not work. But we never say, oh, I didn't work the business. That's why it didn't work. Oh, this job does not work. Well, we don't talk about the fact that we didn't work that job. That's why it did not work. And it's all subliminal because we're saying it and we're speaking it. And whatever comes after that is going to happen. Galen, let's bring you back. And I know we've talked about this subconscious mind principle over the years that we've done this podcast. And any questions you have for Gloria?
Yeah, one of the things that I'm really fascinated by, because I can relate to so much of what Gloria, what you shared, but in the text, Napoleon Hill says that everything that we create begins first as a thought impulse, and we create nothing which we cannot conceive of first. And that caused me to wonder, how often do I spend time thinking about my thoughts and evaluating the quality of the thoughts that I'm thinking? And so I'm curious for you, how often do you spend time thinking about, am I being positive? Am I being negative? Am I being optimistic? Especially if you're in sales, you have to be your own generator of optimism. How much time do you spend thinking about your thoughts to determine whether or not you need another boost of something to get you back on track?
That's an excellent question. And my answer is every day. I have a routine as well. So I get up and I meditate, I stretch, and I walk every single day. So when I'm walking, it's me and my mind and my dog. And it's so funny is that if I don't do it, I miss it. That is my opportunity to just self-care, just to self-love on myself. So I do think about my thoughts, and I realize they're very important. It takes a high priority stance in my life to just think about the thoughts. And I look at it this way: my thoughts come from above. My thoughts are a gift. So they are given to me to develop plans, to implement, and to manifest them. The thoughts aren't given to me to just sow wildly and not to have anything produce, not to produce a harvest. So I take my thoughts very seriously. It's a high priority for me. And I make time to give it their correct priority and place in my life.
Oh, fantastic. One of the things we talked about last week, and I want you to offer this to our listeners as well, because one of the things we talked about is the fact that successful people aren't people who never have negative thoughts. Everyone has negative thoughts from time to time. Successful people just bounce back quicker. They can rebound. They can harness those negative thoughts, put them in the right perspective, reframe them, and come back. What are some things that you do when you find yourself going down that negative road? What are some things that you do to bounce back quicker that you can offer to our listeners?
I realized years ago that faith triumphs fear. And to me, a negative thought is created by fear. We talked about positive emotions and negative emotions. And anything negative to me doesn't have a place in my atmosphere, in my space. And sometimes I don't recognize it right away. But if I think about what's happening, why it's happening, and the consequences of it, I just cast it out. I give it no play in my life. So over time, I've learned to recognize it quickly, to make it be decisive about what is actually occurring. Where is this emotion coming from? And it's either two places. It's either positive or negative. And I do realize that if it's negative, it has no place in my life because fear and faith cannot coexist. So faith and fear cannot coexist. And so I've kind of aligned my body up with that vibration. My body will tell me if my mind won't tell me that it's not good for me. And so I'm open to really knowing myself and having that intimate relationship with my faith. And so I get warning signals like a car, you get in the car and you're out of gas or whatever. Your body will do the same thing if you just pay attention and spend some quiet time of getting to know yourself.
Dr. Peter, you got to be enjoying this conversation, man. What questions or comments do you have?
Yeah, so some great thought process. This is actually one of my favorite chapters. I say that so much, Galen, with this book. I love all the pages, but this chapter right here, it really resonates with me. I have a website called Shift Your Mindset. The mindset really is more about your subconscious, what you're injecting in there, how you're managing it. In this chapter, Napoleon Hill says that the negatives automatically inject themselves into our thought processes, which ensures their passage into the subconscious mind. The positives must be injected through the principles of autosuggestions, right? And he goes on to say, positive and negative emotions cannot occupy the mind at the same time, right? So what I've been really conscious of, especially lately, is what am I listening to on the radio? What am I watching on TV? What am I even passively listening to that I may not be intentionally conscious of, but my subconscious is hearing it and it's digesting. So now I'm just paying attention to the audiobooks that I'm listening to in the car instead of just listening to music or the news. I'm putting in great podcasts or great audiobooks that are allowed to, even though may not be listening intently, they may be passing subconsciously into my mind. Gloria, I would love to hear a little bit of what that might look like for you, what you might do to impact your subconscious mind passively, even for that matter, on any given day, weekly, whatever the case may be, especially in your sales world, especially in the corporate environment, but also for your personal existence,
Yes. Excellent question. It's important to feed our faith And I'm like you, I listen to podcasts a lot. And it's it's actually a great time to listen to podcasts when I'm exercising.
Yeah.
So I focus on tuning in to what's going to elevate me and tuning out those things that are going to decrease me. And I've done that over a number of years, and that tends to help because I see the results. So when you kind of lay your life out, you have to decide which route you're going to go. If you're going to go south or you're going to go north. If you're going to go up, you're going to increase, or you're going to go down, you're going to decrease. So when you decide which way you're going to go, then you make a conscious decision to keep positive reinforcement all around you. Turning off the TV, for example, I think you mentioned that. Exercising, taking care of your body, because you want to be able to enjoy your wealth and your abundance. So you have to maintain a healthy body as well as a healthy mind.
Mm-hmm.
So just really being attractive to positiveness. And the book talks about vibrations. Okay. So you want to make sure that your frequency is turned on to all things are possible, to whom that believe. And then surrounding yourself with podcasts and positive thoughts and affirmations and people, and definitely your goals, and committing to your goals and reciting your goals and having confidence that, yes, I will complete what I desire by such and such date. So being faithful and accountable to your desires. And I like to just say that we're talking about the subconscious mind. And I always think of the subconscious mind as something spiritual. And having that personal relationship with our creator helps us to align ourselves with the positive reinforcements, the vibrations, the frequencies that we need to stay on our path to experiencing a positive conscious mind.
Love it. Love the detail. Love even what you mentioned about mantras and affirmations, listening to podcasts, being intentional about inject what we want to inject into our mind. Because when we're not intentional about that, this is what I heard you say, when we're not intentional about that, the world is going to automatically, and Ann McNeil mentioned this also, the world is going to automatically just inject what it wants. The advertisers, the social media, the movies, whatever the case may be, they're going to be automatically injected in. I wonder how those of us who are listening could really manage that better. Ann McNeil, such a great conversation this is. Thank you so much for leading it off with what you do in the mornings as well.
Well, listen, you're talking about thanking those who are listening. We definitely want to go to the chat and give kudos to Colette Coleman. We have Doretha Dennis, you always hear, Renette Gordon, and so many others, Angelina Buckley. So many people are chiming in from all over the world. Diane King. I just want to mention a couple of comments here. Renette Gordon says, I'm starting to reprogram my mind more and more every day. I'm intentional about canceling each of my negative thoughts with at least 3 positive thoughts. And I know that is, Renette, thank you. And I know that is easier said than done, because we all, I found myself yesterday having to apologize just for a look that I gave somebody. It's it's so quick. It is quick, and oftentimes, and because of this principle and reading it and listening to it in preparation for today, I was mindful, and I had to laugh at myself and say, what if I had not been doing that daily mental surgery? I would have gone right past that. Doretha says, I too follow a rigid routine each morning by injecting recordings of the self-confidence formula, scrolls from Augmendino, my personal desires and personal affirmations. This is a serious subject, and I know they're all like excuse me, Peter says, each one is his favorite, but this one is really his favorite, right? And so I think what we're beginning to realize, that all of these principles, I'm a builder, and we start with the foundation, right? To build the building. These principles are like building the building of your life, and they're built on top of each other, but they start with your desire. What good is a subconscious mind, yours or others, if you don't have something that you desire and you're working toward? All of these principles really don't mean as much unless you know very clearly what you're desiring, because your subconscious mind, like a magnet, will draw to you, but also it is called the inner audience. Can you imagine? We're talking about an external audience, but your subconscious mind is also referred to as your inner audience. So, Gloria, can you share with us? It doesn't have to be personal, but can you share with us something that you are intentionally focusing your subconscious mind on to draw to you? Maybe it might be something on your vision board, or something in your affirmation, or something in your business that you'd like to share. And how do you use this principle to actually draw it to you?
I too journal
Yes.
because I find myself, like Dr. James says, sometimes waking up at night because these thoughts are coming to you, your subconscious mind. So I journal just about anywhere and everywhere. I have notepads in my car, in my purse, on my desk, because I realize these are important nuggets that are being released to me, and I have to write those down. Then I analyze those, and it turns out to be there are actually tools that I can use to help move me to the next level. So I'm very aware of the importance of putting thoughts on paper, writing it down, and having it organized so when you need to get back to it, you know where it is, so you can put into action. So journaling has helped me a lot. I don't use a vision board, but I use index cards, and I'll write business goals or personal goals or family goals down on index cards and read them every day. Read scripture every day. I talk to myself every day. The most important thing to me, though, and I have to give accolades to Miss Ann, is actually, joining the Clarity Mastermind. The self-confidence formula is huge. It seems like it's a little simple thing, but it's not. It has had a great impact on me being more accountable to me. So believing in yourself, writing and reciting and follow through and follow up, to me, is the key.
Wow, I had to write that down, being more accountable to me, because we have a tendency, Gloria, to be accountable to others based upon what our relationship with them is and what our commitment to them is. But being more not just accountable, but being more accountable to yourself
Yes.
for that which you would desire. That is powerful, powerful. Let me bring back, we all, whenever we're hosting, which one of us are hosting, that we can each host this entire podcast by ourselves. And sometimes we have to remember that we do have co-hosts. So Galen, Peter, we're going to bring both of you back, and we're going to have a dialogue, because it is, I don't know, where did the time go? My goodness, I'm writing notes and listening. And I think you said something, Galen. You said you are the generator of optimism. I love that. Thank you so much for that, because that is powerful. And that also connects to the power of our own subconscious mind and how we use it. And one of my Napoleon Hill quotes, and I just share this, and I'll ask each of you, if it's something special that comes out of the principle that you'd like to share. But one of my favorite, Napoleon Hill says, the subconscious mind makes no distinction between constructive and destructive thought impulse. It works with the material that you feed it through thought impulse. The subconscious mind would translate into reality a thought driven by fear just as readily as it would translate into reality a thought driven by courage or faith. And just that statement, for me, is a constant reminder to guard my thoughts. Guard my thoughts. What about you, Gloria? Any particular quote or I started to use Galen's word to say passage from the book, Galen, passage from the book that you like to share regarding the subconscious mind?
Yes, there were so many, and I marked a couple. This is the one I'm going to talk about. I liked a lot. It was like an aha to me. It says, let's see here. It talks about it alone is, we're talking about subconscious mind. It says, it alone is the medium through which prayer may be transmitted to the source capable of answering prayer. And a lot of times we pray, but you can't just pray and just leave it there. You have to pray and take the action to turn that prayer into reality. So that's a subconscious mind. And I know that, and I grew up in church and we all pray, but you just can't leave it. You can't leave it at the altar. You can't leave anything at the altar. You can't leave your goal at the altar. You can't say that you want to be a millionaire or a multimillionaire or a billionaire and leave it at the altar. What are you doing? What are the steps that you're taking to get to that point? And that's what he's talking about here. It's not going to fall from heaven. It's not going to be manna falling from the heaven. And then you just say, thank you, Lord. You know what I mean? You got to put in the work.
All right. Thank you, Galen.
Yeah. So, one of the parts that I just really enjoy is Napoleon Hill says the subconscious mind is susceptible to influence, impulses, thought mixed with feeling or emotion. So many times when I work with people who are new to this book and we start talking about reading and reciting our affirmation, they will just read it and they will just recite it. And I have to stop them and say, okay, I need some more energy. Tell me, demonstrate that you're convinced that this thing is actually going to happen, because you have to mix it with emotion. That's why, Miss Ann, you talked about advertising. That's why when you're watching a television show, an ad comes on, the ad is always a little louder than the actual television show, right? It's always a little louder. It's always a little faster. There's always a little something extra, because it's the emotion that turns those thoughts into action. So we need to, again, be mindful about how are we programming our own subconscious, because others spend zillions of dollars to try to do that so that we can buy their stuff.
Wow. Thank you, Galen. Thank you. All right, Dr. James.
Yeah, I love that. I love that last thing that Galen said. That is so true about the commercials. They are super loud. You're like, did I just turn the volume up for sure or what? Something I wrote down while we were having this discussion, it really it made me think a little bit, and think about this now too. The right mindset precedes powerful actions and behaviors. The right mindset precedes powerful actions or behaviors. I don't know about you all. I'm looking to achieve greatness in my life. You can call it money, you can call it whatever it is you decide, whatever greatness looks like for you. But then what is your mindset? What is your subconscious like on a regular basis? So therefore, what are you feeding it? What are you feeding it in order to accomplish that greatness? Right? Because in order for you to accomplish those powerful, those great actions and behaviors, you have to have that right subconscious. And I wonder if we're doing enough of that as a society and individually. I don't know. So I just thank you for putting me on the spot there, Neil.
I don't know either. I just while you were talking, I just read another, and I put it in the chat because again, on a daily basis, and I know Napoleon Hill tells us to go back to this chapter and go back to that chapter, but just imagine if we were to, as we do these shows every week, if we were to just pull a couple of quotes a couple of, aha moments and actually journal those. Hmm. Hmm. What if the one I just put in the chat? It says all thought impulses intended for transmutation into this physical equivalent, voluntarily planted in the subconscious mind, must pass through the imagination and be mixed with faith. And I want to go back to what Gloria said about prayer and the fact that the subconscious mind being a connecting link, according to the author, of course, to prayer. But this quote says that all thought impulses, which prayer is a thought impulse, intended for transmutation into its physical equivalent, that can be anything material, money, health, it must be voluntarily planted in your subconscious mind, and it must pass through the imagination and be mixed with faith. And I am believing that when we think of how we want to actualize, if you will, the goal or the vision or the mission or whatever it is you're desiring, it is the imagination that now is being activated, by the subconscious mind. That imagination is giving us these ideas. But how many of us pass right through the ideas? Like Gloria said, you can't leave that there. So you pray about it at the altar. You now have an idea through the imagination sent to you through your subconscious mind based upon what you prayed about. You get up and you keep moving. And going back to Gloria's point, do you write it down, whatever that hunch, that nudge, that urge? Do you write it down and then act on it? This is powerful, powerful, powerful. Let's bring everybody back, and we're going to wrap up because we could be here for a while. Listen, I'm telling you, we've gone through all of these principles all year, starting with the desire and faith. I started to say that other word, Dr. James, transmutation, right? Auto-suggestion, specialized knowledge, organized planning, all of these, but they mean nothing if you are not clear on what you desire. Galen, I see you smiling. So what's up?
Yeah, so one of the things that I think is just incredibly important is that you have people around you who can help reinforce these principles that we talk about. And Gloria talked about the fact that, like me, I read this book 100 years ago when I was in high school. And then I read it again when I was in college, because I heard everyone say that this is a book that you're supposed to read if you consider yourself educated. So I read it and memorized a couple quotes. So if ever I got quizzed on a corner, I could demonstrate that I was educated. But I didn't really study it. And it wasn't until I got involved with you, Anne, and started attending this annual meeting that we have in Boca Raton every year, that I really understood the power that's associated with this philosophy. So every year, the first week in January, like-minded people will descend on Boca Raton, and we will just reinforce the annual plan that you are creating for yourself. What's your goal? What's your plan for the upcoming year? And how well did you do with executing your goals for the previous year? And as Anne likes to say, if you didn't do what you promised yourself you were going to do this past year, then how much confidence can you have that you're going to do what you're planning for this upcoming year? And so it's really about accountability. It's about reinforcing your mindset, making sure that these things that you have in place, you've got the right capacity, the right mental capacity to actually make them a reality. So I would encourage everyone to plan on being in Boca Raton January 6th and 7th at the Embassy Suites, so that you set yourself up to achieve these goals that you have for yourself on purpose. This is nothing to play with. And as we've said a couple of times, if you're not intentional about planning your life, someone else is going to take advantage and cause you to want to do what they want you to do. And that's not something to play with.
All right. All right. Well, let's go around and start with you, Gloria. Any aha moments before we plan to wrap up from this short conversation that we've had this morning? I don't know where the time went.
This has been an excellent discussion. I've thoroughly enjoyed hearing from each one of you. I've enjoyed going over, reading the book again. And if I can I mention one point of the book that I really wanted to mention, which I
Absolutely.
didn't?
Yes.
Excuse me. It says, when you achieve this, you will possess the key which unlocks the door to your subconscious mind. Moreover, you will control that door so completely that no undesirable thought may influence your subconscious mind.
Wow.
And I just said, that is just awesome. So our subconscious mind is the link to the finite and the infinite. And we want the infinite. We don't want any boundaries. We don't want anything locking us in, or we don't want any limits. We want to take the limits off. We want unlimited access to our positive subconscious mind.
Dr. James, I feel the heat coming up so early this morning, rising from the energy that is being.
Yeah, it's good stuff, and it's short heat. It's not a big heat, and it resonates from what Gloria had mentioned here. And this is how I encapsulate it. It's actually one of my affirmations that she reminded me of. And Napoleon Hill says it in so many different ways throughout the book, especially in this chapter. Faith and fear cannot live in the same space. I choose faith. Right? So those of you who have been fearful, anxious, nervous about something, it's not working to level you up, take you to that next point that you're trying to get to. What do you need to choose instead? I choose faith. What about you?
Ooh, all right. You want to tell everybody how they can reach you while you're
Oh,
talking?
yes, forgot all about that. My name is Dr. Peter A. James.
All
You can
right.
find me on any social media platform at Dr. Peter A. James. That's at DrPeterAJames. And of course, at shiftyourmindset.com, where we're looking to help you take yourself to the next level.
Galen.
Yeah, so great conversation. This just really, for me, reinforces the responsibility that we have to make a decision about how we want our life to go, and then put things in place to make sure that we're in the best possible position to make that a reality. So many ways to get in touch with me. I talk every week about my podcast. We talked a lot about podcasts today, but my podcast is Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership. Great place to go for inspiration. We talk to leaders from every industry about the whiskeys they drink, the jazz music they listen to, and what it really takes to be an effective leader. And then also this coming week, I will be speaking as part of the Executive Leadership Council Mid-Level Leader Summit. Actually, Dr. Peter James is going to be with me. We're going to be doing some things virtual as well as in person there in DC. So we're going to be taking your place there. And I will try to put the link there in the chat, but you can go to elcinfo.com/MLMS to register for the virtual session. You have speakers from all over the world trying to elevate African-American, Black leaders in what they're trying to do. So I double dog dare you to check us out.
Okay. All right. Gloria, how can they reach you? And if you have anything special you are promoting or would like for people to connect with you in that way.
Yes, thank you so much. You can reach me at gloriariley.com. I am a speaker, coach, and author. And I'm also putting on an event next year, 2023, in Atlanta, Georgia. It's going to be a wealth legacy retreat. So stay tuned to that. You can reach us at, or just for right now, just contact me at gloriariley.com for more information, and we can connect, and I'll keep you posted as that develops. But I'm so excited about that.
Awesome. And we're excited for you because I too know what it's like to host an event. And oftentimes it started with an idea, a desire to serve.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And that is really for all of us, Galen and his event that he's hosting, Dr. James, and many of our listeners, we have a desire to serve. Now, with that desire to serve, we are all in business. And I am the motivator to the motivator, Les Brown. And one of the things that he has always said, he said, and, stop doing so many things for free. People don't pay attention when they don't pay. And the more they pay, the more they pay attention. Can I say that again, Galen?
Yes.
Please do. Please do.
All right, so Les Brown, and we'll have him on the podcast again, and we've been friends since 1977. Yes, back to the riding on the back of the garbage truck days. Yes, back to the radio station days. Yes, back to the going to state house days. And because I have a heart for service, he would always say to me back then, stop doing everything for free, Ann. People don't pay attention when they don't pay. But the more they pay, the more they pay attention. So, with that thought in mind, let me share. My name is Ann McNeil, and I am the Master Wealth Builder. And I am also hosting a retreat. It's a one-day retreat, and it is called Niche to Be Rich. It is a business retreat where I will take a small group of individuals. And if you're interested in taking your business to another level, your life is another conversation for another different retreat, but we're talking about your business here. You can connect with us by going to annmcneil.com, and the details are there, /events. The details are there, and you can connect with us there, but only if you want to niche to be rich. And if you're really not understanding what that means, this may not be the retreat for you. But if you are in business and you are struggling to understand how to make money, and especially how to make the money make money, then I would encourage you to connect with us at our one-day retreat. And it's going to be on November 9th from 8 to 3 p.m. 2022 on our special island. Yes, my special island in my hometown. And so we'll look forward to seeing you there if you're interested. But we want to thank our special guest today and our co-host for a phenomenal conversation. And the conversation, I want to make sure we all understand, we did not begin to scratch the surface of the power of your subconscious mind and what it can do once you connect with it. And I think that it's so amazing how we can have these conversations and never talk about how we think. Even though the book is called Think and Grow Rich, we focus on the rich part, but not on the thinking. So everybody, we want to see all of you next week. Thank you for joining. Gloria, you've been an awesome guest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Galen and Peter, always the best. So everybody, we'll see you next week. Please remember to subscribe, to comment, like, and share the podcast, but definitely subscribe and ask your friends to do so also. So we'll see everybody next week. Namaste.